So from your experience, what would you say are let's say, the top three roadblocks that you've encountered over and over again that just stop things from running smoothly within an organization, like a bigger organization?
Yeah, I am going to go back to fear because I think that there's fear of taking any risks. There's fear of not being successful. And we see that a lot at the executive level, at the presidents and the C-suite level that will
Mhm.
hold companies back. There's also the fear of taking that risk because you make yourself vulnerable. And at that point, you put yourself up the way that we all view it individually, right? Like I'm going to expose myself, that I may not know all the answers and then I may fail. And so we create this mask of not being authentic. But really, most of the time, we're also focused on ourselves that nobody's paying any attention to exactly what that leader is doing. And so that work often is the work that happens, and we can look at some really large organizations. I live in the Northwest, and we have some very large software companies here, and we can talk about the shift of leaders over time, and a leader that has a persona about knowing all of the answers and how the company didn't do very well, and a new leader comes in and says, let's talk about compassion and let's be vulnerable and be authentic with each other, and all of a sudden the company culture completely changes. And those are I'm not going to name a name, but people can figure out who that company is. And that's just this huge turning point. And it really does start with leadership.
Mm.
There are things that can happen grassroots from the ground up, but if you do not have a leader that's living the values and showing those things, the company will still struggle.
Yeah, I totally believe that. It sets the tone for the entire company, and it creates an environment where people can either thrive, or they keep playing small because they're also living in fear. Um,
Absolutely.
so,
Yeah, the difference between is your team willing to take a risk to innovate,
mhm.
and know that if they fail, like they may fail fast and you have learnings from that, or are they so afraid that if they fail, they will be reprimanded or it will be reflected in a negative way? Like that, just that simple thing is how we get companies that constantly innovate and create. And during COVID, I think we saw that some companies pivoted very quickly. Like, I lost my audience. How do I go and change and do something different? And then there's other companies so sad that weren't able to pivot. And it does stem from the leadership.
Yeah, probably does. So when you compare working with organizations to working with individuals, do you see the same challenges come up, or what would you say are the three most common blocks that you've encountered in working with individuals?
I do see the same challenges. I do have to approach them differently. I'm not going to sit with a CEO and have that person talk to me about what was it like to grow up in their household and what's their relationship with their parents, which I will do with an
Mhm.
individual because a lot of things do form really early in our personalities and our social styles. And so those formative years are important and they're great clues to
Mm.
what might be holding somebody back, or where do they have unconscious bias that we need to explore. And when I'm working with an organization, it needs to stay to the business level, unless, of course, you're having that conversation over lunch or you're at a happy hour and it's a little more relaxed. But really talking about still some of those basic things, like a year from now, what would you like people to remember about you? How did you lead through this situation? And how are you thinking about the future? Are you focused on self, or are you focused on we? Is it about the community? And really being able to take some leaders too that have had to fight really hard to get to where they are, and have had to spend a lot of their personal time and may have sacrificed time with family to have to be able to say, this is no longer my time to focus on me. I have to focus on the greater good. And being able to make that type of transformation too will make a big difference in an organization. I mean, we can all feel it when we are with leaders that truly care about the people they are leading. versus leaders who are very focused on what's in it for me.